All right, so as I was saying, guys, that one of the advantages of decimals is the ease with which they are multiplied or divided by powers of 10. Now, powers of 10, we know that we can just simply think of them in terms of each zero you add, that gives you another power. So if you start off with 10, that's 10 to the power 1. 100 would be 10 to the power 2. So the number of zeros actually tell you the powers of 10 that you're working with. So if you have 1 0, then the power of 10 is to the power 1. 2 zeros, it will be power of 10 to the power 2, and so on. Now, it means that these numbers, when you use them to multiply decimal, it is done very easily, as well as even if we are dividing a decimal by these numbers, it is done very easily. We can just, once we are multiplying by powers of 10s, we're simply going to just move the decimal point, right? And when we move the decimal point, we are going to move either to the right or the left, depending on what we are doing. If we are multiplying, we are going to move the decimal point to the right, And if we are dividing, we're going to move the decimal point to the left. Now, the number of zeros in the power of 10 tell you how many places you're going to move it. So if you're dividing by 1,000, you're moving to the left, how many places? Miss Amanda? Miss Scott? How many places would we move if we are dividing a decimal by 1,000? How many places would we move the decimal point, and in which direction? All right, I see Mr. Reed, you want to answer?
We just said 3 times, but today left.
Well, actually, the number of zeros actually tell you the number of places that you're moving. So if you divide, you're moving to the left. In this case, if you're dividing by 1,000, you move the point to the left 3 times. You're dividing by 100,000 or 10,000, you move 4 times to the left, and so on. Whereas when you're dividing, you move the point to the left. When you're multiplying, you move the points to the right. Go ahead, Ms. Raysom.
Sorry, so when we're dividing, we move the point to the left and
right.
we multiply to the right? Okay.
Yes. Now, one of the things you have to be careful about, because when we start looking at what we call standard form, that's kind of a little trickier situation than this one, all right? All right, so let us now see how, you can lower your hand, Ms. Wilson. Let us now see how this would work. All right. All right, before we get into the actual multiplying of decimal, let me give you some example of what we mean by how easy it is to multiply by powers of 10. All right, let's say that we have the number 0.75. And we are timesing it by 100. All right, so call that 1. 2, let us work with the same number, 0.75. But now we are dividing it by, let's say, 100. All right, so for the first one, to get the answer here, what we really want to do is to move the decimal point based on the number of zeros in the powers of 10. What powers of 10 we're multiplying by? We're multiplying by 100. So that would be 10 to the second power. Now, when we multiply by 100, what direction are we going to move the point and how many places?
Two times to the right, sir.
Two.
All right, 2 times to the right. So originally the point is here. And because we are multiplying by 100 and we have 2 zeros, means that we need to move the point 2 places to the right. So we move 1 place and then 2 places. And so this is the new position of the point. Now remember now, if the point is here and these numbers are in front of the point, then these are going to be whole numbers. So this is going to be just simply 75. Is everybody following so far? Who can tell us now what the next answer should be? What direction are we going to move the point? And how many?
Yes, sir.
We're moving it to the left. How many places, miss?
2 places to the left.
2 places to the left. So we move it 1, 2, then this is where the point is now. Now, wherever you have a blank space without numbers, we put a place value, we put 0 to hold that place position. So now the number would become, remember the point is to the left. Now, if we have no number in front of the point, we must insert what? What would we insert in front of this point?
0, sir.
0, right? So we insert a 0 in front of the point, and then now numbers that come after the point, we write them back after the point. So now we would have 0,
0.
7,
75.
right?
5.
And so that's how easy it is to multiply decimals by powers of 10. You just move the zero, the point to the right or to the left, whether or not you're multiplying or dividing. Is that clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
All right, let me see the hands of those who are okay with this.
Sir, for number.
All right,
Sir, for
saying something? Go ahead, Trivia.
Sir, for number 2, the operation should be division, because
Yeah, it is actual division, but because the dot is not so clear, so it's the division, not subtraction. Yeah, okay with that now, Ms. Trivia?
okay, sir.
Yes. Any question about these?
Yes, sir.
Yes, go ahead. What question? Or is it that you're saying that you're okay? All right, so we're going to move on. So here we have multiplying now decimal by whole numbers. Now, this might not be as easy as when we are multiplying by powers of 10, but when we're multiplying by, when we're using whole numbers to multiply, we are multiplying in the same way as I would multiply ordinary numbers by whole numbers, right? So if we're multiplying by whole numbers, we follow the same principle. Now, if you have decimal points, then the rule is we multiply in the same way as how we multiply regularly. And then now, we now have to think about the numbers that we are multiplying and see how many decimal places each of these numbers have. So for instance, if you are multiplying two numbers, and let's say one is 2.5 times 0.5, then what we're going to do, we're just going to multiply in the usual way, ignoring the point. So in other words, we're going to just multiply 25 up here if you want to think of it that way, 25 by 5. And so you multiply in the usual way and ignore the point. However, when you get your answer, in the answer, you have to place the decimal point the same number of places as the total number of decimal places of all the numbers in the product. Now, how many numbers that we are multiplying together to get the product here? We're multiplying how many numbers?
4 numbers.
Well, not 4 numbers, but 2 numbers. We're multiplying 2.5 with 2.5, right? So we are multiplying 2 numbers. But if we should find the total number of decimal places for all of them, what is the total number of decimal places you have here? Anybody? Go ahead.
2, sir.
All right. Why did you say 2, Mr. Reed?
Because
Anybody else agree with Mr. Reed? Raise your hand if you're in agreement with Mr. Reed. Okay, Ms. Waysome is in agreement with Mr. Reed. Would you like, and Mr. Ogino, Ms. Waysome, would you like to state why you're in agreement with Mr. Reed and give me a reason?
No, sir, not quite.
All right. What about you, Mr. Ogino?
Sir, because there are 2 points, 2 numbers behind the points, 5 and 5.
Right, so in the first number, which is 2.5, you have one number behind the point. In the second number, you have another number behind the point. So 0.5 have one number behind the point, 2.5 have one number behind the point. So in total, you have 2 numbers behind the point. Is that clear to everyone?
yes, sir.
Raise your hand. So what it is saying though, is that your answer should have 2 numbers after the point. So what we generally do when we are multiplying decimal, first, we multiply the number in the usual way, pretending that there is no point. So let's say that we are multiplying these 2 numbers together. And so if we are multiplying them, we multiply them and we pretend that there is no point. So after we multiply the 2 numbers, what we would get for the answer would be this, right? Now, if you, maybe we should just go through the process of doing the multiplication. So let me just go back up to the slide and remove the solution for a bit. And then now we work with the numbers that we have. So if you're multiplying these numbers, you write them out in the usual way. Now, the when you're writing numbers and you're multiplying them, you don't have to line up points under points. That's only relevant when you're dealing with addition and subtraction. For multiplication, we're not focusing on the point like that. We're going to actually ignore the point when we're multiplying. So we have to multiply as though we're multiplying ordinary whole numbers. And so if we're multiplying, we'll start out with the 3 and we say 3 nines give you what? Come guys, let us write this.
27.
27. So we'll put down the 7 and we'll carry the 2. So now we say 3, 2, 6 give you, so 3 times 2 give you 6. But remember we had carried 2 from the 27. So the 2 plus the 6 going to give you what now?
8, sir.
8. So now we would have 8. And next we have said 3 times 1 give you 3.
3, sir.
Everybody following so far? All right, so after we use that 3 down here, next we're going to use the 6. Now, the 6 is in the second place value position, going to the left. So it means that multiplying by the 6, we will have to put the numbers under the second place value. So if we say 6 nines, 6 9 give you what?
54.
All right, so what would you do here now if you're going to say 6 9 equal to 54? What should we do in terms of the number? Where we put the 4?
Put the 4 down underneath the 8.
Underneath the 8, because the number we're multiplying by is in the tens. All right, in this case, if you think of it in terms of the tens, it would be in the tens position, so the 4 would have to come in the tens position. Now, this position where we don't have any number, we put a 0 as our placeholder to hold that position. All right. So now once we have hold that position, now we say 6 nines, 54, put on the 4, and we are going to carry what? How much are we going to carry?
5.
5. Now we are going to say 6 2.
5.
6 2 is 12 plus 5 give us what?
17.
So we are going to put down 7 and we are now going to carry 1. So we say 6 1 6 plus 1 give you
7, sir.
7, right? And now we are going to add. Right. So now up here we can also put another 0 for the placeholder here. So plus 0 here we get what? 7. And 4 plus 8 we get what? 12. Put down 2 and carry 1. And so we have 3 plus 7, 10 plus 1 give you what? 11. We put down 1, carry 1.
8.
And then we say 1 plus 7 will give you
8.
8. Now, this is what we would get if we are multiplying just a ordinary whole number without the points. But now, in our answer, we have to now put the point at some place between these numbers. Now, how do we determine where the point must go? Can somebody tell us?
Yes, sir.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Giovanni.
I would say 3 decimal places.
All right, anybody else in agreement with Mr. Giovanni? Raise your hand. Let me see if you are in agreement.
Yes, sir.
All right. Who else? So, Gino. All right, Miss Cummings. All right. So I see people are getting the idea. So yes, because that's what we said. Your answer should take the total number of decimal places of the numbers that you're multiplying to get the product. So you're multiplying 12.9 times 0.63. Now we have how many decimal that comes after the point of 12.9? We have one decimal place. For 0.69, we have two digits that come after the point, so we have two decimal places. So in total, how many decimal places we have for the two of them? So one for the first one and two for the second one. So in total, we have a total of 3 decimal places. Mr. Where you can lower your hand now. So your answer then going to take 3 decimal places. That means you're going to put it where 3 numbers come after the point. So you're going to put the point right there. And that is how you get your answer when you're multiplying 2 decimals. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
So far?
Yes, sir.
Let me see the other hands who are in agreement with this. All right, so good. All right, so let me clear this. All right, so generally, this is what we get when we multiply it out, and the answer should have the point based on how many points, how many digits come after the point in the numbers that you're multiplying to get the product. So we have 1, 2, 3. So answer should take 1, 2, 3. All right, that should be clear to everybody. All right, since 12.9 has decimal place and 0.63 has 2 decimal places, the answer has a total of 2 plus 1, 3 decimal places. So the answer is 8.127. All right, just repeating what I just said. All right, now we see how to add decimals, and we say subtraction would be done in a similar way. And we also saw how to multiply decimals together. And so what we want to look at now is how to divide decimals. All right, now, so we have rules for dividing decimals too as well. So the rule is we make the divisor into a whole number by multiplying by the appropriate power of 10. All right, what do we mean by that? Can anybody interpret what I've just said? We make the divisor into a whole number by multiplying by the appropriate power of 10. So if we have, all right, now if we have one decimal dividing by another decimal. Now, just in a similar way, when we are looking at fraction, our divisor, so let's say we have 2.3 divided by 0.75. Now, which of these numbers would be the divisor? Which are these?
The one on the right.
All right, so
0.75.
right. So it's the same one Mr. Giovanni has been asking. So anybody else agree with this? That 0.75 would be the divisor? Guys, Anybody else? Raise your hand if you are in agreement. All right. Okay, so our divisor really is the number that comes after the division sign. The one that is being divided is known as what?
Dividend.
The dividend. All right. So the rule says that we must make the divisor into a whole number by multiplying by the appropriate powers of 10. Now, this is our divisor here. It means that we want to first make this into a whole number by dividing or multiplying by some powers of 10. All right, so in this case, we would multiply. So what power of 10 would we multiply this by to get it into a whole number?
100.
100. All right, everybody is in agreement with 100. Let me see the hands of those who are in agreement. All right, Miss Coming. All right, good. Now, so if we multiply the divisor by 100, do we just go ahead and divide after that?
Repeat again, sir.
If we multiply the divisor by 100, then we will get the whole number to be 75, right? So
yes, sir.
And what else do we do from there? Anybody? Ms. Trevia, you'd like to say something? All right, Ms. Trevia, you can lower your hand if you're not going to say anything. Anybody else want to make a comment about this? After you multiply the divisor by the power of 10 to make it into a whole number, what do we do next? Ms. Scott, what do we do next? What about you, Miss Green? What do we do next? Mr. Ojeno? What do we do next? So some? What do we?
Sir, is it that you would?
I'm listening you. Suppose let me write it this way, right? Remember, if we write 2.3 using a division bar divided by 0.75. .75, or am I writing that? So 0.75. And we multiply down here by 100. Right? What else do we do next?
So with that times the 2.3 by 10.
Why times it by 10?
Because there's one decimal place.
No, you're really not concerned about just me. You're not thinking about making the dividend into a whole number. The rule says make the divisor into a whole number. But the reality is to make the divisor into a whole number, we multiply by 100. Now, do we leave the numerator in the same way? Do we leave it as 2.3, guys? This way, some? Mr. Shamar,
Yes, sir.
would you leave it like that? Are you multiply and then divide what we have in the numerator?
To be honest, I am not sure.
Okay. All right. Suppose then let's look on this. Suppose you have a fraction 2/3. And we multiply down here by 2. Would that be okay? Would it be the same fraction?
No, sir.
No. So in order to get a fraction which is the same, what we would have to do?
You have to multiply the top 2 by 2, sir.
You would have to multiply numerator by 2 as well. Right? Because once you do anything to whether the numerator, if you do something to the numerator in a fraction, you also have to do the same thing to the denominator. And vice versa. If you do something to the denominator, you also have to do the same thing to the numerator in order to maintain an equivalent fraction. Equivalent fractions are exactly the same size, but they use different numerators and denominators, right? So in this case, if we multiply the denominator by 100, then we also have to multiply the numerator by 100. So in other words, whatever you multiply the divisor by to make it into a whole number, you also need to use it to multiply the dividend. Is that clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
All right. So once that is done, then you would divide in the usual way of dividing fraction. Now we're running a little bit over the time. So what I'll do, when we meet back, we will just pick up from here and we'll actually do some of the question. Now, in the meantime, what I want you to do on the website, go to class notes from September to December, look for decimal, go across and look for the worksheet or the class activity and try some of the questions on those. And then now we can discuss them when we come back next class. All right, guys, so I'm going to stop here. So let me clear what I have on the screen.